Welcome to session 2 of Belly Dancing for Beginners with me, Lindsey Marie Silver, here at Little Egypt Studio in Scotland. In this session, let's advance our look at travelling steps in belly dance with travelling with a hip drop. Travelling with a hip drop, but also travelling with a hip lift. And the difference between the two, how they feel, how they look, what they're useful for, and then also let's have lots of fun with some shimmies. So coming into center, let's come into that basic stance. Let's assume that you now know your basic stance. Let's work from the feet upwards throughout the body. Deep breath in, fueling the muscles as we're using them. Let's begin with a slide of the hip out to the side. I just noticed that my lighting is actually different to usual. I'm just going to be like 1 second. In fact, let's revise that traveling slide step. Slide, 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 slide. Nice. So we'll break down the technique of that again in a moment, just to give you a little bit of a refresher, and that will assist you in deeper learning of the next step that we're going to travel with in this session. All right, so let's take that slide now up into the rib cage. See if you can anchor through your hips. If you're not sure what anchoring is, you'll find that on the Belly Dance Beginners playlist in term 2. Slide, 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 slide. I think we also touch upon it in term 1 as well. Let's take that upwards. You can slide through the head. Nice. Bring it down now. Wow. Let's just work with the arms, raise upwards with a deep quality breath. And as you breathe out, we're going to bend through knees and release. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3. In, 2, 3, 4. Suspend the breath if that feels good to you, and then in your own time, release. Return back to center. Nice. All right, let's continue that warm up with a slide to the side. Bring the hip all of the way back. Bring it out towards the side. Bring it forwards. To the side. Bring it back. To the side. Bring it forwards. Try the other way, a little bit faster maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So for this circular motion, of course, we're using 2 planes of motion. We have the slide of the hip side to side that we did a moment ago, but we also had that plane of movement with the hip coming forwards and back. The hips remain in neutral as you do that, so it's not coming out of neutral like this. It's nice, straight, aligned back, and your pelvis stays aligned parallel with the floor, with the ground, rather than coming at a diagonal to it. So that's the mechanics that we used there for that circle motion in the warm-up. So let's now move on. If you're ready, are you ready to travel? Are you ready to travel? Let's dive into this. Okay, so in the last session we looked at 2 main types of traveling. Can you remember what those were? So the first one then is like a staccato traveling. It's very noticeable in terms of gear changes, Sometimes it's noticeable in terms of level changes. It tends to be more folkloric and earthy. Then the other kind that you had was that smooth, fluid, almost gliding across the floor. Almost gliding, hovering even. It's very mystical and magical and otherworldly. Quite serpentine and slinky as well. So those are the two main types of traveling that you'll see, but there's variations within there, and sometimes there's the merging of the two. So we placed this in the last session with a slide of the hip. We slid out to the side like this with the smooth serpentine one, and then with the staccato one, we're out to the side, but we're step, 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 step. So it was very marked. So in this session, let's have a little bit of fun with a movement known as a hip drop. We're also going to have fun looking at a hip lift, which is considered to be the reverse of that movement, although it uses different muscles. And then we're going to build that up to traveling with that. Help yourself to some hydration. I'm going to pop some music on, and let's have a look at this in some detail then. All right. So as you return into your basic stance, know that the movements that we're about to do, the drop and the lift of the hip, you could do this on a single leg. We're going to work with it on a double, so both sides of your body. So you want your weight to be stabilized around the center, all the way around the outside of your feet. You're nice and engaged in your core, but you're not so tight that you can't move. But there's a little bit of activation through pelvic floor muscles to anchor your hips in neutral. We're lifted and elevated through the rib cage, just that tiny bit in your basic stance. The chest is nice and open and bright. Relax your hands down by your side. We're going to take a nice big bend through the knee. So you're bent through your knee in your basic stance. We're going to bend a little bit more, and I want you just to try keep that maintained throughout. So what we're going to be doing is bending through one knee, and that lowers the hip down. Now you might have done this basic movement with me before, and if you have, this is a nice reminder. We're revising that and looking at that in a little bit more detail now in order to actually layer it up with a traveling step. If this is totally new to you and you'd like to focus just on that hip drop and the hip lift, you will find that on the Belly Dancing for Beginners playlist, and that goes for anybody who's tuning in on YouTube, but also ladies who are live with me right now. We've got a teeny tiny but perfectly well formed class today for some reason, but we did change the time from the evening to the afternoon for this session as a one-off. So my sisters here, my dance sisters, Isla and Paulette, we are rocking out together. So you're going to bend through your knee there. And what you find is that lowers the hip. They're all part of the same system, so the hip can't help but to move. But you want to make sure that you're maintaining and you're gaining the most range of motion possible as you bend your knee. What are some of the ways that we can ensure huge hip movement here? Can you think of any ways that we can ensure as we bend through the knees that we get nice big hip movement? All right, let me tell you then. So one of the ways we can ensure that we get nice big full movement of the hip as we bend through the knee is by sitting right down into it. And I asked you to do that a moment ago to assist you with how that feels, really getting used to how that feels. So we've got that nice big bend through the knee, and automatically it's like a coiled spring. You're like a coiled spring. It has to go somewhere. The other thing that we're doing here to ensure this nice big full movement is we're relaxing through the waist. If you're so tense through your core muscles, and in particular your external obliques at the side of your waist. If you're so tight through there, it restricts the movement, and what you see happening is kind of like this in some dancers. It goes like this. But if you relax through there and allow your spine to mobilize, so you're going to gently feel your tailbone swing out one side, swing out the other side, whilst also facing down towards the ground. Good, well done, well done. So this is a hip drop. So with the hip drop, it could be smooth, or it can be really strong and sharp and edgy, very staccato. Okay, so this is a drop of the hip. So I just want to make sure that you know what we're doing here. So as we do this, feet are flat on the floor, your heels are down. If that's difficult for you, just know that through practice, that's going to get a little bit easier. And also you could shift your weight ever so slightly back into your heels, and that will help you keep the hips down on the ground. Okay, shall we try travel with this movement now? Okay, let's give it a shot. So, you don't need a huge amount of space for this, but if you have space, do use it. Use what you have. All right, so as you do that hip drop, I want you just to first think about when is the most natural time for you to step. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna step at exactly the same time as we perform that drop of the hip. So it's going to be like this. We can raise our hands out to the side. And what you're going to do is you're going to shift your weight so it's onto one leg. The other one is free to move. You're going to step forwards and drop the hip down. Automatically, simultaneously, together. Drop the hip down as you step. Are you ready? Let's try. Here we go. Drop. 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 Drop, drop. So we work with the staccato step first of all, so you can really see this marked movement. Here we go. Drop, 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 drop. Now make sure that your hips haven't automatically come out of neutral. They might want to. Just tuck them under. Use pelvic floor muscles. Drop, drop, drop. Are you ready to go faster? Drop, 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 drop. Drop, 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 drop. Drop, 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 drop. Wow, well done. I'll like have a bit of a practice and a play around with that a bit more in your own time. So this is a staccato traveling step with a hip drop. Let's try now a smooth, serpentine, fluid traveling movement with a hip drop. You ready? Are you ready? So remember we said in the last session that some movements lend themselves better than others to one particular type of traveling. See how you find the two of these. This one is a smooth fluid flowing and floating across the ground. Let's try. It's a bit like this. Oh, I can do that at the same time. Whee! Drop, 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 drop. It is a challenge. Drop, drop, drop. Tuck the hips under, use pelvic floor. I'm chatting to you in the mirror there as I come round. Drop, drop, drop. Good, well done. Well done, yes. Drop, 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 drop. Whee! Wow, amazing. So this is working with, this is so good, so good, so good. Feels so good, doesn't it? Oh my gosh. I'm just getting high on life and belly dancing here now. Do you feel it? So this was a hip drop. So you'll see this more in Egyptian style music. There's more dum sounds, it's earthier in Egyptian rhythm. And so the drop lends itself really, really well to illustrating that. And then conversely, on like the other side of the scale, you've got a hip lift, which really well illustrates that tack sound on the side of the drum. So right on the side of this is going to be freezing on my tummy. I'll hold it on my leg. This is the doom, this is the tack. Doom, tack, doom, tack. So we're going to illustrate the tack now on the side of the drum, the very edge. Okay. So this is the hip lift. Now to produce the hip lift, we do use the knees, but primarily the movement comes from your waist. Okay? In that basic stance, do your checklist all the way up through your whole body. That way you won't miss anything out. So we're going to contract through the muscles of external obliques in the waist. There's a little bit of a contraction of abdominals and a little bit of erector spinae right in the center of your back there, that diamond-shaped one. Tiny bit of contraction through there as well, but mostly it's through the waist and then release. Just try on one side, then we can take it to the other. We're going to lift and lower. Again, lift and lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. So the knee does come with the movement, but it's not the primary source of motion. Your waist is, and the knee just happens to come with it, which is kind of the reverse to what we did in the last one. Yeah, where the hip and the waist just happen to move because the knee did. This time around, it's different. It's the waist and the hip, and the knee follows. Let's try the other side. We're going to lift and lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Now, the last time when we traveled with this, we stepped on the same side as the hip that was dropping. Let's try that a little bit faster now, and we're going to alternate one side of the body to the other. Are you ready for that experience? Here we go. We're going to lift and lower, lift and lower, lift and lower, lift and lower. We can make that faster still so that we actually move swiftly, directly from one side to the other without the pause in the center where we return to neutral. Let's try that now. Here we go. We're going to lift, 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 lift. Now, round about now, you'll notice that the other side of the body appears to create a hip drop. Now, that's just a natural because they're all part of the one system, but the emphasis on the movement is firmly on the lift, 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 lift. You're going to feel this differently through the outer thigh. You're going to feel the outer thigh and the outside of your glutes free and liberated. Feel that shimmy creeping in there. If you want to make that sharper and punchier, you can really squeeze through the muscles of waist, squeeze through waist, squeeze through waist, and slightly into the abs on one side of the body and then on the other. All right, should we try traveling with this? Are you ready to try? Just try, just give it a go. See what you can do. Ready? All right, bring it to center. So the last time we stepped on the same side as the hip that was dropping. This time, the hip is going to lift. We're going to shift our weight so that the other side is going to step. You can step at different times with this, but first of all, I want to try that one with you. It's the most basic, it's the easiest to balance. It's a good starting point. Okay, so we're here. What's happened to the music? This is a good rhythm. Let's work with this. All right, so here we go. We're gonna lift and step. Lift and step. Lift and step. Lift and step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure the hips remain neutral. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lift. Lift. Squeeze. 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 Lift. 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 Wee. Lift. 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 Wee. Well done. All right, bring it back into center. This was sort of the staccato. You can really feel that earthiness. Although it's a skywards movement, that staccato step itself brings an earthiness to it. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, do leave me a comment and I'll answer any questions that you have on what on earth I'm on about with this earthiness and skywardness. So, let's try now the hip lift with that smooth, fluid, flowing serpentine gliding across the floor. Let's just try. Just try. You ready? Here we go. Whoa, I had a little bit of a false start nerves there. Here we go, let's try. Lift, lift, lift. I don't know what that was about. Like I've been dancing for a very, very long time by now. I feel you on this. Lift, lift, lift. It's funny, isn't it amazing an art form can do that though? Something that you could still feel as excited and passionate and an excited nervousness for all of those years later. Wow, not everything can do that, huh? All right, so here we go. Let's make it really smooth. On the travel step, notice the difference? Travel. Use your pelvic floor muscles a little. Lift, 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 lift. Woohoo! I don't know what happened to my voice there. What happened to my voice there? Wow-wee! That was amazing. So now what you have in your traveling belly dance steps repertoire is the slide. Woo! Nice. And then what you have is step with the hip drop, 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 drop. Drop, 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 drop. Nice. And then we have now is lift, 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 lift. Feel the difference. The difference when you dance this is huge. And if you're dancing it right, the visual will be different as well. But to the untrained eye, sometimes you can do a lift movement and it appears as it drops in a similar way. You know, when you watch a car, sometimes it gets to a certain speed and it actually looks like the wheels are going backwards. Similar thing can happen with your hip with the drop and the lift. It's crazy, I know, but that's what happens. Wow, you did so well with that. Let's celebrate your awesomeness with a shimmy. Woo! Basic knee shimmy. You're gonna bend through your knees. Woo! Shoulders. Knees. Shoulders. Woo! Knees. Shoulders. Wow, well done. Come into center, take a nice deep breath in. As you breathe out, bend your knees. Ah. Bring it up into center, deep breath in, hands wide. And as you breathe out, bend through your knees, bring your hands down to the center, down to the ground, and gently unwinding up to the sky. Deep breath in as you breathe out. Up to the sky here. We're going to come all the way around towards one side. Nice wide leg side bend. Open out through the chest. Nice. Come back through center. Take it to the other side. Deep breath in. As you breathe out. Wow. Wow, that is amazing. You are going to be traveling up and down your hallway in a whole new way. See if you can float along like a super incredible goddess. Well, no, you are that anyway, but now it's time to travel like one. Woohoo! Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next class.